empanadas, naranjas, manzanas, pan de muertos, tamales, calaveras de azúcar, cempasúchil, visitando los abuelos en el Camposanto, cantando y bailando. Estos son las imágenes de una celebración muy importante, Día de los Muertos, y nosotros estamos aquí para celebrar en nuestra comunidad religiosa. Empanadas, oranges, apples, sweetbread, tamales, sugar skulls, marigolds, visiting the grandparents in the cemetery, singing and dancing. These are the images of a very important celebration, Day of the Dead, and we are here to celebrate in our religious community.
hurry home to my heart.
Mañana, cuando estés ya cansada de tanto por el mundo vagar,
Return to me, please come back, bella mía.
con los brazos abiertos que están casi muertos sin ti.
My darling, if I hurt you, I'm sorry. Forgive me, and please say you are mine. Return to me. Please come back, bella mía, con los brazos abiertos que están casi muertos sin ti.
And we continue our service by lighting the chalice, symbol of our liberal religious faith and traditions. May this flame serve to remind us that we are not isolated beings, but rather connected in mystery and wonder, in worship and celebration to the universe, to our communities, and to each other. Our opening words are by Wendell Berry. We clasp the hands of those that go before us and the hands of those who come after us. We enter the little circle of each other's arms and the larger circle of lovers whose hands are joined in a dance, and the larger circle of all creatures passing in and out of life, who move also in a dance, to a music so subtle and vast that no one hears it except in fragments.
I invite our children of all ages to join me up front. We are going to watch a cartoon. Who thought that we would watch a cartoon today at church? I did. Please come up front. We're going to sit in front of this screen here. There's some really beautiful music that accompanies the silence. But this gives us an opportunity to really watch and take in what we're seeing. No distractions. Yeah, there's no dialogue. What do we see happening? So in that really short cartoon, we actually saw a really, really important kind of thing happen, and a very important message that we're going to talk about. So in the cartoon, the little girl that we saw, the one with the blue flower in her hair, had a really strange experience, and she had an unexpected dream on a day much like today, the Day of the Dead. She sees a flower that reminds her of her mother. And when she touches that flower, she instantly gets connected to her mother in a new and unexpected way by having a special dream. Now, when we start watching, we see her in a really frightening kind of place with dancing skeletons, and she's feeling rather sad. But as the story goes on, she realizes that she's actually not alone, and that things are not as frightening as she first thought. And in fact, she ends feeling kind of happy. Now, she thought that her mother was lost to her. And I want to tell you that no one is ever lost to us. People only change. And it's scary when things change, especially when we don't understand that kind of change. When people die, they change, and we change too. And as Unitarian Universalists, we believe that everyone is important and all things are connected. And what that means is that each and every person is an important part of us. And we are connected in a way that even if we don't see them, they're still with us. And that connection still remains. Now, we never become dancing skeletons, and we don't cut fruits into strange shapes with our bony hands. That's just on a cartoon that we saw. But we do change. We do change. Now, when something is really scary or frightening, and we don't understand it, sometimes we can react by being scared of that thing. Other times we can react by laughing, by smiling, by making fun of the thing. And when we see those dancing skeletons, that's our way of making fun of something that we don't really quite understand. And when we make fun of it, it makes it a little bit easier for us to deal with it. And it makes it a little bit more understandable. Now, do we have folks here who have good memories? Anyone here has a good memory? Good, okay, excellent. I think that I have bad memory. I forget things all the time. I forget where I parked the car. I forget what day of the week it is. I forget who took the last cookie from the cookie jar, especially if it was me. All of us in this room forget things from time to time. But on the Day of the Dead, what we do is we come together to help each other remember. Because when we remember people who are not around, people who we miss, they come back to life for us. And they live in us. You ever have that feeling when you forgot something and then you remember it again? That, I remember. It feels like getting a hug. You've had that feeling. It's a great feeling to have. So we come together to help each other remember so that we can all have that, I remember feeling. And the things that help us to remember are easy things, like a word or a sound. Sometimes it can be a picture or even a flower that helps us to remember. And when we remember people, they come back to life for us. So I want you to remember that you have the power to call people back through their pictures, through flowers, through your memories of them in your heart and in your mind and in your hands. And that we can choose to make time to remember these people who matter to us. And that's what we do on the Day of the Dead. Can you remember that? Yes, I see. Yes. All right. So you can return to your seats. Thank you.
De colores se visten los campos en la primavera. De colores son los pajarillos que vienen de afuera. De colores es el arco iris que vemos lucir, y por eso los grandes amores de muchos colores me gustan a mí. Y por eso los grandes amores de muchos colores me gustan a mí. colores brillantes y finos se viste la aurora. De colores son los mil reflejos que el sol atesora. De colores se viste el diamante que vemos lucir, y por eso los grandes amores de muchos colores me gustan a mí, y por eso los grandes amores de muchos colores me gustan a mí.
We honor the fact that some people among us have fresh hurt from a recent death. For those among us who are experiencing harder phases of mourning, we lift up our hearts in condolence. If you're hurting right now, please know that you are surrounded by love. Dia de los Muertos allows us to explore ideas and experiences about what happens after we die and how we relate to those who have passed away. Deceased Unitarian Universalist minister Forrest Church said, "We know all of us will die, and because we know that, we have religion." Religion helps us to think about big questions like what happens after people die. Unitarian poet Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, his brother was minister here for 3 years, Samuel. Henry the poet said that the grave is merely a covered bridge from light to light. The grave is merely a covered bridge from light to light. We here have light inside of ourselves, and those who have passed away still have light in them. And the light is unified, Unitarian. Many of you also believe that the soul includes the memory that the living have of deceased loved ones. So for example, Sally Strybig, who was a part of this church for her entire life, died recently, and the memory we have of Sally in our hearts and our minds is a part of her soul. Compassion is the spiritual theme of the month. Compassion is defined as being aware of suffering and having a commitment to alleviate suffering, wanting to help people who are hurting. How have you learned about compassion from your deceased loved ones? I'm thinking this week about my grandparents on both sides. I was very sad that none of my grandparents lived past the age of 11 for me. When I was 11, I had lost my last grandparent. But I know a lot about them from this precious time I did have with them, and from my mom and dad telling me a lot of stories about their moms and dads. And so I was talking to my mom about this with compassion, and one example we came up with, neither family had a lot of money. My mother's parents made the most between the two families, and the highest combined salary that they ever made was $15,000. And with that modest lifestyle, both my parents were audited by the IRS for what they claimed to be giving to charitable causes. And none of them ever lied, but they were both very generous couples that gave a lot of what they had to organizations that helped, for example, fight hunger, help homeless people, help people who are unemployed to get back on their feet. They gave a lot to their churches. And I know that came down to me through them and through my parents. And I learned about compassion through all four of my deceased grandparents. How did the words and actions of your deceased loved ones teach you about compassion? How do you want to be remembered for your words and actions of compassion when you are no longer living and you're being remembered by your next of kin or your family or your neighbors? How do you want to be remembered? Por estar una persona que cuida a otros. ¿Cómo quiere usted que la gente recuerde de usted? Having a spiritual approach to dying and death is beneficial. Paying attention to how we relate to the dead helps us to live our lives more fully. When we need our deceased loved ones, I believe we can talk to them and feel their energy. Being connected to their souls gives us direction, solace, and joy. Their love lives on.
The Day of the Dead is traditionally a time to recall the feelings and memories of our heart and our minds for departed relatives and loved ones whom we wish to honor and celebrate. With that in mind, I invite anyone here who's brought a photograph of their loved one to come forward, place it in the chancel on the altar, peel off to me as a human microphone stand, state their name for the congregation for us to honor and remember. And even if you have not brought a photograph, I invite you to bring a memory forward to the altar. Peel off to me and state their name for the congregation to honor and celebrate. I invite anyone forward. Tommy Joe Bergen.
De'Armond Moore and Melvin Zalkover.
Alice, Janet, and Marty Doan.
Reed and Mary Fallon and Dave Furlong. My baby sister, Debbie Watkins, and my daughter's precious little cat, Draco.
Pagan Ray and Ruth and Ruben.
My mother, Jean Swartz, and my dog, who died the very same year.
Bernard Nathaniel Lewis and Bernice Kroll Lewis.
Shrita Savinsky and Chet Molesky.
Jack Parker and Fran Jarvis. Thank you.
Rhea Krieger.
Mary Dickens Jones, my mother.
Lawrence Cotton, my ex-husband.
Frank and Josephine Pepe and Lee and Benny Frazier, my grandparents.
My parents, Shari and Leonard Kalish.
My little brother, John McNamara Gardner. John McNamara Connolly.
My grandma, Teresa.
My beloved niece, Felicia Gibbons.
My grandparents, Ruth Faye Luckenbill and William Seffing.
My friends Peggy Thrash and Davi Santiago.
My friends Nem, Mikey, and Nikki.
Arnold Mann and Sue Berman.
Our 17-year-old cat Isaac and my grandmother Ethel Bunting.
My grandparents Meyer, Ann, and my grandma Joya.
My mother Ruth Goodman.
My parents Malcolm and Helen Davis.
Earl Kaufman.
My grandfather, Connie Cummings, and my cousin, Devin Richbill.
My mom, Lois Kelly.
My first pet, Fifi, #1.
Barbara, Charles, and Jenny Gabriel, Sophia, and Zygmunt Suzinski.
My parents, Jim, Eva, and my stepmom, Mary, and Trudy Gallagher.
Lorraine Gregoire, Henry Gregoire, and Jelani Irving.
Andy and Peg Redding, Mickey the Cat, and Joe Sampo.
My friend David Rosenblum.
Michelle Ayres.
My grandparents, Beulah and Sam Markowitz.
Charles and Eloise Levitt.
Thank you all.
Making an offering to the Sunday plate is a way of being a compassionate presence. We say to our religious community, "Here I am. I'm with you." This is one of the things I have to offer so that we can move through our lives together, nurturing our spirits, remembering our loved ones, standing on the side of love, and working to make the world a better place. The morning offering will now be given and gratefully received.
With the joy in our heart from music and community, let's center our hearts together now to send out love to communities around the world, remembering deceased loved ones. We send love to those in harder phases of mourning. We lift up people struggling with violence, those in the crisis of Ebola and other health problems. And we lift up our hearts for a hurting planet, ecologically. We also give thanks for the peacemakers, the medical teams and the healers, and those who are working to take care of our planet to be more sustainable and beautiful. In our own community, we lift up Kathy Bonanno, Bob Williford, Elaine Hills, and Elaine Wallace, and send them our love. giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. So
y de mis ojos que lloran en silencio por tu adiós. Me miro en el espejo y veo en mi rostro el tiempo que he sufrido por tu adiós. Obligo a que te olvide el pensamiento, pues siempre estoy pensando en el ayer. Prefiero estar dormido que despierto. Que me duele que no estés. Como quisiera que tú vivieras, que tus ojitos jamás se hubieran cerrado nunca y estar mirándolos. Amor eterno e inolvidable, tarde o temprano estaré contigo para seguir amándonos. Por tu ausencia, desde ese día hasta hoy no soy feliz, aunque tengo tranquila mi conciencia. Sé que pude yo haber hecho más por ti. Oscura soledad estoy viviendo, la misma soledad de tu sepulcro. El amor del cual yo tengo, el más triste recuerdo de Acapulco. Como quisiera, ay, que tú vivieras, que tus ojitos jamás se hubieran cerrado nunca y estar mirándolos. Amor eterno e inolvidable, tarde o temprano estaré contigo para seguir amándonos.
Our closing words are by Barbara Peskin. Because of those who came before, we are. In spite of their failings, we believe. Because of and in spite of the horizons of their vision, we too dream. Let us go remembering to praise, to live in the moment, to love mightily, and to bow to the mystery. Amen.
Hojas de papel volando, a todos diles que sí, pero no le digas cuando así me dijiste a mí, por eso vivo penando. Cuando me traes a mi negra que la quiero ver aquí, con su rebozo de seda, que letra que te vi.
Muchas gracias.